The bells are tolling in the distance. I am here, hanging, listening to them. I count 12 strikes. It must be midnight. It is time to let my mind drift backwards in time, back to when I had a life, back when I was free of this misery. The snow is falling outside the window. I can see its fractals dancing throughout the night. How I long to feel the cold again. My love, why is it that you still haunt my mind? Dreaming of when we were together, I long for those days, but alas, it is not meant to be. All that is left is this misery and all the blood that I saw that night in the cellar. It is almost time. I hear him coming. Soon, I will be dancing again for all those beasts that torment me. Let the show begin. It seems like just yesterday we were walking the streets of Budapest. Tonight has been a magical night. The air is fresh with the smell of numerous delicious foods. It is making my mouth water. Maybe it was time to go and get some food. Before I could follow through on that idea, I noticed up ahead there was a line of so many people. There must be a Christmas show. I decided I'd go and see what all the fuss was, so I joined the line. After about 15 minutes, the line moved inside a small building. It was old and slightly weathered. Inside the theatre, there were a dozen chairs placed around a small stage. Leaning over to the man next to me, I asked him what this was all about. He chuckled and told me that I was in for a wonderful treat. The puppet master was performing tonight. Sitting there, waiting for the puppeteer to come out, the air seemed alive as it was buzzing with magic. It was rather exciting. An old man came out. He was wearing a brightly embroidered shirt with a black vest, black trousers that were tucked into his boots. But it was his black, brimmed hat that caught my attention. It was large and floppy, and it hung over the golden brimmed glasses that he wore on his face. The puppet master disappeared behind the black curtain. The puppet theatre was dark, so it was so hard to see what he was doing. Gas lamps lit the stage suddenly. They flared into life. The curtain started to raise slowly, and I could make out the puppeteer. He was smiling. He walked off stage, heading up to the stairs that led above. He brought forth the first puppet. It looked strangely grotesque. Its features were almost too lifelike, and they were almost the size of a fully grown adult. The puppet master, standing on the walkway over this strange creature. He was controlling the puppet, silver strings that caught the light and gleamed a bright silver. It seemed like the puppet was dancing across the stage. The old man had full control of the puppet. It moved like it had a will of its own. The old man smiling as his hands moved the strings of the puppet. The puppet stopped moving, and the old man raised his hand to his lips. Shh! Here comes the puppets, he yelled to the audience. Suddenly, 3 puppets appeared on stage. They were all walking in a line, but he raised a hand and pulled a string. One ring raised, another head dropped down. Then, without warning, he let go of all the strings, but none of the puppets fell down. They were all standing, and no strings were holding them up. How is this possible? The old man started laughing. I was amazed by the show. What evil magic was the puppet master using? I dropped my eyes to the puppet that was dressed like the little drummer boy. The puppet's eyes were staring at me. Could it see me? It seemed like the puppet was alive, and its eyes were locked on me. There was something on the puppet's hand. What was it? It was red, and it was dripping onto his drum. His hand was cut, and there was blood. There was blood dripping from the puppet's hand. How was that possible? There was no silvery strings anymore connecting them, but they were still moving in perfect harmony. These grotesque puppets were somehow moving and performing. It is time for our show to come to an end. I hope my children have amused all you boys and girls. The curtain fell suddenly, and with that, the puppet master and his puppets were gone. The show had concluded, and I pushed my way outside of the theatre. I was greeted by the dark night. It seemed even darker and more bitter since I went in to watch the puppets dance. Everyone who'd watched the performance started to make their way home. As I stood there, looking back at the theatre, I wondered if anyone else had noticed the magic in the air, but I suspected that it wasn't just magic, but something much more sinister. The cold air assaulted my lungs. Snow would be falling soon. I was about to turn and walk away, but I saw her. She was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen, and I could not draw my eyes away from her. I decided to approach her, as there seemed to be something whispering in my ear to go and talk to her. As I got nearer, I could smell the faint hint of rose in the air. Her dark brown hair partially covered her face, but through her hair I could make out the deepest, bluest set of eyes staring back at me. I introduced myself to her, and she told me her name was Victoria. As soon as she said her name, I was smitten. All the people seemed to vanish from my sight. All I could do was focus on Victoria. I hung off every word she said. There was magic in the air, and I could feel it. There was a cold hand on my shoulder, almost like there was a ghost beside me. I could feel its cold breath against my ear, and it whispered in a raspy voice saying, "Kiss her now." I was overcome with desire, and I could not stop myself. Leaning forward, I pressed my lips against Victoria's, and I kissed her with a passion that I'd never known before. The world faded from existence, and there was only the two of us. That was exactly 1 year ago today. Ever since then, we have shared our eternal love day by day, and it has only gotten stronger. Every day has been wonderful. Sharing my life with my beloved has given me the strength to do anything. Everything has been lovely, except for tonight. Victoria has not come home. She wanted to go and see the puppet show again. She wanted to visit there to celebrate when we met, but I'd been far too busy to attend with her, and she has not come home. I need to find her, and I need to find her now. I made my way through the cold streets until I arrived in front of the theatre. There was no sign of her anywhere. I have a dreadful feeling that she is here somewhere. Behind the back of the theatre, the shadows were old and thick. It seemed like no light could penetrate them. I managed to find a set of stairs leading down into the cellar. As I crept down the stairs, the shadows seemed to be alive, like they were rulers of this place. Some noise startled me down below, so I quickly retreated back up the stairs, as quietly as possible. A crack opened below, and golden light streamed out, illuminating the stairs as the door opened. There was a 300-pound woman who started making her way up the stairs. I could see her greasy skin reflecting off the candlelight. Her breath was creating white puffs of steam as she wheezed while she walked up the stairs. I recognized the woman. It was the puppet master's wife, Emerencia. She stumbled up the stairs and paused for a moment, trying to get her breath back. It looked like she was holding something in her hand. It flashed for a moment. The silvery moonlight caught the long blade as she stood there. Walking towards a cart, Emerencia reached down and grabbed both the handles, lifting it up. She started walking down the dark streets. She deliberately avoided well-lit areas. It looked like she was looking for something, but I was unsure what she was looking for. I kept my distance from her so I'd not be discovered. My mind kept wondering, "Oh, Emeriencia, where are you going with that knife?" Eventually, she found what she was looking for. A homeless man was laying in the alley. He was asleep. Emeriencia approached him without a sound. She raised the knife in front of her and drove it down hard into the man's chest, puncturing his heart with one quick blow. The blood that ran out of his chest was not red. It was black as the night. It was a strange feeling watching someone's life slipping away. Emeriencia grabbed a sack from the cart, wrapping the man up in it, leaving the blade sticking out of his chest. It looked like she didn't want to lose any of the blood. Hefting the man into the cart, Emeriencia started to make her escape, winding back down the dark, old streets, back towards the theatre. She eventually laid the cart to rest. Pulling the lifeless body from the cart, Emeriencia made her way back down the stairs. I noticed the cellar door was left ajar, but I decided to follow her down into the darkness. Walking through the narrow hallways, following her footsteps, there was a light in the doorway up ahead. Sneaking up quietly, I walked through the door. I let my eyes adjust to the light, searching for her. I could not see her in the room. Taking a moment longer, I started to realize to my horror that she wasn't in the room anywhere. Before I could process it, there was a sickening, cracking sound as something hit the back of my head. The world started to spin. I fell forward, and as I hit the ground, I was met by darkness. My eyes flickered open, and I could barely see what was in the room. My head was killing me from the blow. That bitch must have hit me damn hard. Trying to look around, my head just didn't want to obey me. The pain was far too great. It is so cold, my back feels like ice. I must be laying on the floor. I can feel the hard stone underneath me. I attempt to move my hands, but they are stuck in place. There's a clinking of metal on metal. It's an iron chain. I cannot move. I managed to move my head, and I looked up to see the iron chains leading from my hand like a snake, slithering to the binding spot on the wall. It appears that I am the only person in the room. There is only my raspy breath echoing off the stone walls. It was starting to come back to me now. I was following Emeriencia through the theatre. Somehow she must have managed to get behind me. I must be in the cellar. My eyes started to adjust to the darkness, and to my horror, I wished that they hadn't. On the shelf, there were skeletons dressed in human skin. I was truly in a cellar of sin. All these puppets are people. What has the puppet master done? Their eyes were everywhere. They were all staring at me. Their eyes looked alive, and that they were begging for help. Finally, my gaze settled on a pair of deep blue eyes. Oh, Victoria, no. The eyes of my beloved were looking at me. They were still filled full of love, but now they were in a puppet. Tears were streaming down my face. Oh, please, Victoria, let this be some kind of bad dream. But they were truly her eyes. I could recognize them anywhere. They were so alive, and they were begging me to help her, to set her free. I whispered to her, "I'm here, my love, and I will save you." Staring at the eyes of my beloved Victoria, the feeling of desperation was building. Pulling at my bindings, the chains rattled in a mocking tone, and the metal cuffs dug painfully into my wrists, but freedom would not come that easily. In the distance, I heard two sets of footsteps approaching. They fell softly against the stone as they approached. The puppet master and his wife entered the room. They were clothed in black robes, and they were murmuring softly. They were carrying a black candle, and the flame was burning low. As the candle lit the room, There were strange symbols on the walls that I did not recognize. I was in shock. I couldn't speak. I called out to God in my mind to save me from whatever was going to happen. But there was no answer. The two of them approached a white altar, and the puppet master stood in front of it. He was speaking in a language that I didn't understand, thrashing my head around desperately looking for a way out, but there was no escape. On the shelves near me, there were glass jars full of a black liquid, and there looked like there was enough jars for every puppet in the room. The words got louder as the puppet master proceeded with the ritual. Something didn't feel right. I didn't feel like myself. My mind, what was happening to my mind? In a panic, I started lashing out. I had to escape. My foot contacted a shelf and one of the jars toppled over and fell to the floor. The jar exploded with a loud bang. The liquid splashed all over me. From the smell, I knew exactly what it was. It was blood, and it was all over me. "How dare you disturb my work?" came a booming voice from the altar. Something was deadly wrong. I could feel it. There was a skull on the altar, and it turned to face me. It was not a human skull, but the skull of a demon. The puppet master continued the ritual. My eyes started to sting with immense pain. I wanted to grab at them, but my hands were bound tight. Squeezing my eyes shut, I wanted to scream, but the words would not come. The pain was so bad. Is this because I interrupted the ritual? Did the blood on the floor cause this deadly curse? It felt like my soul was getting ripped from my body, and it was going to be given to the demon on the altar. This must be the price for the puppet master to create his puppets. This must be the pact that he has with this demon. Something is wrong. My eyes are burning. My soul is being ripped apart, but it cannot leave my body, and it cannot stay. I can feel the magic in my eyes from the sin and blasphemy from the puppet master is enacting. I must have passed out from the ritual. When I came to, I was no longer on the stone floor. I was strapped to a hospital bed. Strangely, I could not feel my body anymore. It was like there was nothingness there. The puppet master was standing next to me. He was looking down at me. He raised a scalpel and he looked at me almost like a father looking at a newborn child. He was smiling so very kindly at me, and he turned the scalpel in his hand and he started talking to me. "First, I will take your eyes. Then, I will take your skin. And finally, I will make you born again. No more me, my friend." Emerencia came and put some jars next to me as the puppet master lifted my eyelids and started to cut. First, the eyelids were dropped into one of the jars, and then with a loud pop as he dug his fingers in behind my eyes. Using the scalpel, he cut the nerves and my eyes came out of their sockets. He gently placed them into their new home. My new home. He sets my eyes into the puppet's head, and I am watching him as he does. I can see across the other side of the room. My body is laying on the hospital bed with no eyes. But it isn't me anymore. His wife is draining the blood from my body into those jars. He continued his morbid work of stripping my body of everything. My veins are pulled out like worms and left to hang to dry. My skin is removed along with any tendons, and the pain starts to fade into numbness. When he is done, Emerencia takes my carcass and she throws it into the trash. How is it possible that I'm still alive? I should be dead. I saw her throw my body out with the rubbish, but somehow I am still alive inside my eyes. Sitting in the cellar, looking at all the other dolls resting on their shelves. We are all his children now. It was only yesterday he turned my last remains into this puppet thing I am. I can see everything, but I cannot move. No matter how hard I try, there is nothing. I can still feel and think. It is all so very strange. My eternal eyes never sleep. I am always awake. How is it that I'm keeping my sanity in this cell that is made for me? The only thing keeping me sane is my beautiful Victoria. She sits on the shelf, not moving, not seeing. She is all alone, and she is so dead. Eventually the puppet master returns, and he spoke to us in the darkness. "Hello, my children. Mummy and Daddy are back. Let's play. Today, I will teach you a lesson. In blood, I will teach you." They reached up and took Victoria down from the shelf and sat her down on the ground in front of me. The puppet master turned to me and lifted me off my shelf and sat me down in front of my beloved. He started attaching strings to us. First, it was our heads, then our arms, and finally, our legs. He grinned and motioned for Emerencia to bring something to him. Raising a needle up, he tapped it with his bony finger, ensuring it got all the air out of the syringe. He pressed it into Victoria's arm and pushed the plunger in. As he did, I felt a sting on my own skin as Emerencia injected something into my body. It felt so hot, so very, very hot. It is burning inside my puppet body. How can this be possible? I saw Victoria's head. It started to move. It was so very slight, but she definitely moved. There was no mistake. She is moving. My beloved can be herself again. I cry out to her in my mind, "I have missed you so much." It is like some kind of horror show. Somehow we can communicate with each other through our eyes. Deep inside we can talk. Finally, my love is back. How is it that our minds are in our eyes? And how is it that we can move without any strings? What sinful blood is this? He chuckles at both of us and turns to Emerencia and says, "They're alive. That's enough for today. Put them away." For 13 long days, we trained and trained, and we had to learn how to walk, how to move, and how to get around in our own skin. Every day, they would bring those little jars down from the shelves and inject us with the blood from within. It would tingle, then it would burn each time they injected the blood into us. We were getting better at communicating with our eyes, but we only had 1 hour at a time before we faded into death again. We lived in eternal darkness. There was never an opportunity to walk in the sun. Every night Victoria and I would spend what time we had left before the blood left our system. We would sit across from each other on our shelves. This was the only mercy the puppet master would give us. We would talk with our eyes and try and remember the days of old when we were free. Tonight the puppet master came back for another lesson. He looked at Victoria and said, "Tonight you will dance for me, puppet girl. Tonight. No strings attached." I could hear Victoria screaming at him as he forced her to dance. "But I can't. Never did I dance." "Oh, I don't have a chance." "Dance," he commanded. Victoria took a step like a baby learning to walk, and she stumbled and fell into a shelf. 6 jars came down and shattered on the floor. She fell, and she could not get back up. Each time she tried, the blood would cause her to fall down again. In a rage, the puppet master screamed, "To the other theatre. Tomorrow morning she must be gone. Send her to Berlin. Send that puppet to Berlin." We are sitting in the dark. I am here with my love, looking into each other's eyes, whispering to each other. I know that if they take her away from me, I will die inside. I'll be only a shell of who I am now. The mere thought of losing Victoria is almost too much. I am grieving already. "Tell me this is not goodbye, darling," Victoria said sadly. "Do you remember the butterfly, my love?" I asked. "It made me cry, darling." "I know, my love, but we dried its wings so it could fly again." I started to wonder if this was the end for you and me. Would there be some way that I could see Victoria again? There has to be a way, right? I know I could change anything. I would make any sacrifice for her, I would. I would even die for her. so she could be free from this hell. I could still hear Victoria's sweet voice telling me, "I will always remember the things we used to do, all the memories I keep in here, just for you and me. With your image in my eyes, I take you with me when it's time to go." I told my beloved, I swear I'll find you. I'll keep searching to the end of time. And if I can't survive without you by my side, Victoria sobbed softly, then wait for me on the other side. I'll be there. I can barely see you anymore. Victoria's voice was beginning to fade. You must remember the butterfly. It did not die. I love you, darling. I love you too, my love. I can't see you anymore. I whispered. Goodbye, my love. Christmas time has come again. It is not the same without Victoria. I feel immense sadness since they took her away from me. My love is gone. I will not be able to find her again. Tomorrow I will be taken away. I will see the sun again. But tonight I am playing the role of the little drummer boy. I will ensure that he will be rid of me this very night. As the show begins, I look out at the audience. Everyone is staring, enthralled by the puppet master's show. We are all dancing for them. Can they feel the magic in the air like Victoria and I did before? He lets go of the strings and lets us move by ourselves. Our legs start moving by themselves thanks to the blood. My hands are beating the drums in the rhythm the puppet master designs. Now, here I go. I throw myself forward, my face crashing into the ground, and the drum shatters underneath my body. Oh, this is my revenge. This is his disgrace. Damn you to hell, you bastard. Now here I am, still hanging on this wall, still standing tall. Same old nail that they drove through my throat to hold me in place. It's been 18 years since this curse began. For my punishment they sold me to this shop. They put me on display. I hang here every day and every night, forever dreaming of her. I can feel my mind going insane. I cannot handle being stuck in this body for all eternity. I feel like I'm the living dead hanging on this wall. All I can do is dream of the two blue eyes. Even this does not soothe the agony of my broken promise. All the children that come into this shop stare at me in fear. I hear them tell their parents that I look sick, and that my eyes always follow them. If they only knew the truth of what lies behind my eyes. I am destined to be hung in this shop forever, never to be sold again. I have heard the rumours that the puppet master is going to build another theatre in London town. This theatre is going to be built for children, and that is going to be run by his son and daughter. I can already see the bloody mess that they will cause in London. Life is never fair. All of the death and pain they will cause. Haven't they caused enough pain? Life is so unfair. I wonder to myself, will I ever see her again? Where is she now? I can almost hear her words answer me. Will I see his eyes again? Will I ever see him again? Where is he now? Hey, Mike here. Thank you for watching this tribute to King Diamond's, the Puppet Master. I hope you enjoyed today's lullaby. A lot of hard work and effort went into this production. If you do enjoy my content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, keep watching for what's in the dark.